Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Miss Peggy Tanous. You may recognize her from Real Housewives of Beverly
Orange County. Everyone
Orange
always
County.
thinks I'm from Beverly Hills, so it's so funny. I get that all the time, so it's okay.
Maybe you're going to be moving to Beverly Hills. You just don't know it yet. You know?
I don't think so, but you never know.
Well,
You
I
never
mean, you
know.
were born and raised Orange County, right?
I was, yeah.
Tell
I was
us-
one of the only, I think, housewives that are originally from Orange County. Like they're all from either out of state or like maybe, you know, I think Tamara was from like San Bernardino, and they're all from different areas, but I'm like truly from Orange County. Born and raised.
So tell us about it, because I read some stats years ago, and I don't have the reference right now, but I heard that Orange County has one of the highest depression rates in the country.
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know that. I didn't know that, but I wouldn't doubt it. I know for me personally, I battled postpartum depression, and I have a lot of friends down there that are battling it. And it seems like, I think there's so much wealth down there, and there's so much competition, and so much people trying to keep up with the Joneses or just trying to be something maybe they're not. And I think that leads to a lot of depression.
Was it like that from your early days as a child?
No, I was always a very happy, well-rounded kid. I'd like to say, everyone always says, you don't seem like you're from Orange County. I think my parents were smart. They kidnapped us, and our whole summer we spent in Utah. So I grew up, you know, in jeans and riding horses and, you know, riding bareback and driving on dirt roads and going and getting frogs in the woods. And, you know, so it was very, a lot of nature. And I think it was a good balance to have Orange County as the place I go to school, and, you know, but then I would escape off to the mountains.
So what did that look like for you? What was postpartum depression? What was that experience for you?
You know, it was really tough. I wanted babies from the time I was like 21. I mean, I was that young girl that would, you know, I always hold babies and always wanted babies. So when I was, you know, a little bit older when I got married, and I had my first baby at 38. I'm dating myself, but it's the truth. And I had London, and I got pregnant, and I was so excited. And it was like, oh my God, this is, you know, it's finally happening. And then about 7.5 months into the pregnancy, I had torn my ACL and my meniscus. And you can't do surgery because I'm pregnant. So I started getting depressed because I was very active while I was pregnant. I was doing Pilates and yoga and very active. And all of a sudden I'm like on crutches and laying, you know, in bed or in the house, and I was going nuts. So then when I had her, I remember when they brought her to me, I was kind of freaked out. I was like, you know, they hand you the baby, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I thought that it would be more like, oh my God, my baby, you know, I'm so happy. And I wasn't excited, which is heartbreaking because you want to be. And so then you think like, oh, it's probably just because I'm so exhausted, or, you know, whatever, it's all my hormones. But 3-4 months into it, I was still I was getting angry when I'd have to feed her. I was always feeling like I never had enough. Like my husband would say, you know, why don't you just take a break for the day? And he would hire a limo to come get me, and he would take me, you know, send me off to the spa for the whole day. I'd have like, you know, facial, massage, and everything possible, acupuncture, and I'd get lunch, and I'd come home and I'd be like, I just need a break. And he's like, oh my God, you were at the spa for 10 hours. Like, I don't understand. And I didn't see it because I was in it. And then it was my mother-in-law. She's a naturopath, and thank God. And so she sat me down and she said, you're not yourself. You're not the Peggy we used to know. You were always happy and easygoing and just vibrant, and you're sad and you're angry, and you're just not you. And she goes, I really think you have postpartum depression. So I went and saw my doctor, and they always want to put you on meds. And I'm against meds unless I absolutely need them. So I told the doctor, I said, I want to do this holistically if I can. And so my mother-in-law put me on a couple different things. I did 5-HTP, SAMe, L-theanine, and they worked. And I was very fortunate. So then it was a process. And so then I had my second daughter, and it was a whole different world. I mean, and I felt so much guilt because when they handed me Capri, I was like, oh my God, my baby. And I couldn't get enough of her. And so it was a completely different experience. And then I got on Housewives, and I got contacted by a girlfriend of mine, Tanya Newbold, and she's an actress. And she said, I'm involved in this documentary about postpartum depression, and I'd like you to be a part of it. So I asked Bravo if they'd film it, and they filmed me being interviewed for the documentary. Then the documentary was put on hold for a while because the star of it, Lindsay Gertz, she was going through it. She went through postpartum for 6 years. So she had a lot of things going on. They had to, you know, kind of postpone it. So then years later, they came back. They did like a, you know, where are you now type of interview, and it was just released last year.
Wow.
So,
We have a look. Let's take a peek. Peggy Tanous, and I was originally born and raised in Orange County, which is kind of rare.
I've wanted kids my whole life. So when I had London, I actually had a great pregnancy, and all of a sudden I have her and they bring her over to me and I'm like frozen. That's when the postpartum started. I've been suffering from postpartum depression for the last 3 years. Pretty much, I'd say from the day London was born. All of a sudden, I'm home with this baby, and I was like, I felt afraid. And I didn't think that that would be a feeling a new mom would be afraid. I was having really dark days. I had this amazing daughter, this amazing husband, a beautiful house, a great lifestyle. And I'd wake up and I just wouldn't want to get out of bed. I remember calling my older sister and I said, I really need you to talk to me right now because I really feel like I could go upstairs and get the gun. You know, I never ever had a desire to injure my babies. Thank God. It was more about me. It was more like I should just take my own life. So I feel like we're in a really good place now. I mean, there's still, of course, days where I'd wake up and I didn't want to get out of bed. My best advice to women is, you know, that it will get better. It doesn't matter what you have or what your looks are. It can happen to anybody.
Such an important topic. So in your experience going through this, you know, obviously, how much do you think it is biochemical and hormonal versus just spiritually you feel like something you're not living in alignment with your truth?
I think it's both. I think it's probably more of the chemical and the hormones. But you know, there are studies out there that they say also with age, with older moms, it is more prevalent to be postpartum. But for me, I guess I feel thankful that I wanted to hurt myself and not my child. Mm-hmm. If you watch the documentary, which is available on Netflix, you'll see it goes from people like me that weren't, you know, that bad, and then it goes all the way to women that, I mean, there's one woman in the documentary that she killed her daughter, and she went to jail. And when she got out of jail, she felt like she was on the path of recovering, and then she ended up going to suicide.
Well, what's fascinating is thank you so much for sharing and being so vulnerable. And that's like, to say that on camera is, I can't imagine how many women go through that and they're too embarrassed. They would never say that. And so just really want to honor you for that. But I also honor the path that you didn't go to pharmaceuticals. And I think that everyone has their own right. There's a time and a place for everything. And we know through Tom Cruise's like completely not okay, because if you haven't gone through that, you have no voice in it as far as I'm concerned. But I do believe that the natural way is the best way. And so tell us about that. How are all those processes for you?
I agree with you, and I've always been an advocate for, you know, I was kind of coined the girl on the show as the glam girl meets the granola girl, because I can have glam looks, but at heart I'm really that Utah girl that's just, you know, all about granola. And I didn't want to do meds, and I actually I did. I don't think I've ever admitted this, so you guys are getting the first take of it. I actually did at one point try meds for about 2 months, and I was out of my mind. I mean, I actually felt worse. So I went back to the holistic. For me, I still to this day get constant emails and, you know, messages on Instagram and everywhere else, you know, what can we do? And other women that are reaching out to me. I had a man that reached out to me, and this was probably the nicest thing, is he wanted to leave his wife because he thought that, you know, like, she's turned into this nightmare. He didn't know she had that. And so by watching me on Housewives, he was like, oh my God, that's probably what she has. And I tell women all the time, first of all, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what's going to work for you. I would say go to your doctor, talk to your doctor about it. But there are a lot of things out there. I mean, I mentioned Sammy. 5-HTP is an amazing product. And for me, working out was a big thing too. And that's part of why I did my fitness DVD, because I felt like and still to this day, if I don't work out, I start to go cuckoo. Like, I have to have that just to release that energy.
Well, and the reality is that women that are getting pregnant later, like, it takes everything out of your body to have a baby. Yeah. And I mean, I was 22 when I had my stillborn and 23 when I had my son, and I was a disaster because it takes everything. So I can't imagine, you know, as we get older, you know, we don't have the same like vibrancy to just have that resources for
the patience.
Or the patience.
So many women though carry guilt and shame and are afraid to come out and tell their story and be vulnerable in a way that you have. How would you tell them to release that guilt and that shame and to forgive themselves?
I had that too, and I think because I signed on to do a reality show, and I came from the TV world, but I had never done reality. But once I was doing reality, it's like, okay, well, this is reality, so I should go out there and tell my story, because there probably are a lot of women out there that are feeling this. And I tell women still to this day, the best thing you can do is talk to somebody. And if it's not your husband, because sometimes that's too close to home and maybe he's not going to understand, then talk to a friend. If go to a therapist. I mean, do what it takes. My husband and I went to therapy. I went by myself. We went together. We just had our 13-year wedding anniversary, so things are great. Thank you. And my daughter, my youngest, just turned 9, which I can't believe I have a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old. But it definitely, it's just, I think it's women need to, if they're not going to, they don't have to go out there in the public and speak about it, but go to a support group, go, find a friend you can trust, because you are going to have days where you don't want to get out of bed and you need somebody that can kind of lift you and help you get out of bed.
And when you do, try this DVD.
And then do the DVD, the Total Body Workout. Yeah, you can get it on PeggyTanous.com or on Amazon. And it's, the whole reason I did it is my daughters, we were filming an episode on Housewives where I was working with a trainer, and London kept coming in and jumping on me, and I was like, I should just use her as my weights. And so then I thought of the DVD. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start. So I came up with a DVD where you use the child as the weight and resistance. You can use a child that's 6 months old, put them in a carrier, all the way up to 5 or 6.
It's really actually brilliant and a great way for, as a new mom, to bond with your child, right?
Absolutely. It teaches kids the importance of fitness, which I think kids need to learn from the get-go. And there's also, at the end, I do a little segment of yoga. It teaches the kids yoga, how to calm themselves before bed.
I just love that. What would one of the things I've discovered in my own life is that the worst experiences in my life have often turned out to be the best experiences. There's these hidden blessings that don't unfold until years and years later. For you, were there any blessings or growth that came out of that experience for you? Sometimes for some people it's stronger relationships, or what would you say has been the greatest blessing that you've experienced from that very challenging experience?
I think helping other moms and even dads too. I mean, I think just helping people. I really, I've been talking to some of the producers with the documentary since it just came out, and we were talking about doing some kind of a support group. I just feel like, Christy Teigen came out recently that she's gone through postpartum. Brooke Shields had it. There's a lot of people that have it, and I think if we can start some kind of a show or some kind of a network for it, I think it would be really beneficial. And that's what's probably the most rewarding, is just helping people,
Love that.
making a difference.
I love that.
And the fact that I made it through alive, and and my kids are happy and my husband's happy, and that's a blessing.
And you're saving the lives of other people and just sharing that story.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
You really are.
Thank you so much. So where can people find all your work?
The documentary When the Bow Breaks, and ironically enough, there's a movie When the Bow Breaks. So you have to put in When the Bow Breaks documentary. It's on Netflix, and if you do have postpartum, they will come to you and they'll show the movie, whether it's at your local library or at a local theater. So we had a screening at Man's Chinese, but so that's When the Bow Breaks, and it's on Netflix. And then the Peggy Tanous Total Body Workout with your toddler. And you don't have to have a toddler. I have people that use it with their dog. I'm like, use it with your dog. I just tell them, if they don't have a kid, like, use ankle weights, put on wrist weights, whatever. They can get that at PeggyTanous.com or on Amazon.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So
We really
valuable.
appreciate it. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.